Gus Williams died on January 15, 2025, at age 71. The man they called the Wizard passed away from complications of a stroke he suffered 5 years earlier. But here's what makes this story tragic. One of the most electrifying players in NBA history, a champion who changed the game forever, died largely forgotten by the basketball world. Williams spent his final years in an assisted care facility in Baltimore. His health had declined steadily since that stroke in February 2020. What many don't know is that insurance didn't cover all his recovery needs. The basketball community had to step in, creating the Sonics Legends Fund just to help pay for his care. This is how a man who once graced the cover of Sports Illustrated ended up needing charity to survive his final years. But let's go back to the beginning, because Gus Williams' story is one of constant underestimation. At USC, he was dominant. He led the Pac-8 in scoring his senior year with 21.2 points per game. He set records for assists that still stand today. He was a consensus second-team All-American. Yet when the 1975 NBA draft came around, nobody wanted him. Teams looked at this blazing fast guard and saw a problem, not a solution. The concern was his speed-oriented style. Scouts believed he wouldn't last long in the league or fit into established systems. The Boston Celtics famously considered him, but chose veteran Dave Bing instead. Red Auerbach's blunt assessment said it all. Once you sign a Dave Bing, you don't need a Gus Williams. Even Jerry West and the Lakers backed away, believing Williams might not last more than 2 years in the league. So Williams slipped to the 20th pick in the second round, selected by Golden State. Dick Vertlieb, the Warriors' general manager, later admitted they were awfully lucky getting him in the second round. He understood what others missed. Gus Williams is a bird. He has to fly. You can't keep him under wraps. Williams had blinding speed, but most teams just weren't ready for that kind of player. After 2 seasons in Golden State, Williams signed as a free agent with Seattle. This is where the magic happened. Under coach Lenny Wilkens, Williams became the dynamic point guard who would lead the Supersonics to their only NBA championship in 1979. He wasn't just good in that finals run, he was unstoppable. Williams led all scorers, averaging 28.6 points per game against Washington. He was described as a monster in those playoffs and finals. The Sonics had also reached the finals the previous year, losing in Game 7. Williams' immediate impact on Seattle was undeniable. His combination of speed, athleticism, and scoring was revolutionary. He was a dynamic score-first point guard at a time when that kind of player wasn't common in the professional game. People called him flashy and speedy, a blur in the open court. Some considered him the best open court player in the league during an era that included Dr. J and Magic Johnson. Williams earned his nickname, the Wizard, for good reason. He could make shots that seemed impossible, often isolating defenders and creating magic out of nothing. He was also a crafty passer who punished defensive breakdowns and had good hands for reading passing lanes. His style was so unique that modern comparisons include calling him Isaiah before Isaiah, or likening him to Tony Parker, but with better playmaking, defense, and leadership. And speaking of watching basketball legends in action, if you want to catch today's NBA stars who are carrying on Williams' legacy of speed and creativity, there's no better way than with Fubo. You can stream every game live without cable, catching all the action wherever you are. Check out our link below to start streaming the games that matter most. But back to Williams' story, this is where it gets complicated. After leading Seattle to a championship and establishing himself as an elite guard, Williams made a decision that would define his legacy in all the wrong ways. He sat out the entire 1981 season due to a contract dispute with Seattle management. He felt his salary should match his championship performance, and when the team wouldn't budge, he walked away. The impact was devastating. Seattle fell from 56 wins to just 34 wins without their star point guard. When Williams returned in 1981 to 82, he showed he hadn't lost a step. He averaged a career-high 23.4 points per game, finished 5th in MVP voting, and was named NBA Comeback Player of the Year. But the damage to his narrative was done. That missing season created a gap in his story that never fully healed. In sports history, consistent peak performance over many years gets more recognition than interrupted brilliance. Williams' willingness to clash with management, while showing his self-worth, inadvertently created a missed opportunity that contributed to him being undervalued compared to players with uninterrupted careers. The numbers tell the story of what we lost. Williams finished his career with 14,093 points, 4,597 assists, and 1,638 steals over 825 games. He was a two-time All-Star, made All-NBA First Team in 1982 and All-NBA Second Team in 1980. His jersey number 1 was retired by Seattle, yet he's rarely mentioned among the elite guards of his era. Part of this oversight comes from timing. Williams's innovative style was ahead of its time, making it challenging for contemporary observers to fully grasp his unique value. The initial skepticism about his speed being a liability rather than an asset shows how revolutionary players can be initially undervalued by conventional wisdom. There's also the matter of competition for attention. Williams played during an era with larger-than-life figures like Bird, Magic, and Kareem. Even with his championship and individual accolades, he was often overshadowed by these superstars, leading to a less prominent long-term narrative despite his undeniable clutch play. But here's what makes Williams's overlooked status so puzzling. He consistently delivered when it mattered most. His playoff scoring average of 19.5 points per game is the second highest of any retired player with at least 90 playoff games who isn't in the Basketball Hall of Fame. He elevated his game in the biggest moments, often surpassing his regular season averages when championships were on the line. Williams's health struggles began long before his final stroke. The man who once moved like lightning on the court spent his last 5 years battling the effects of neurological damage. He required full-time assisted care, and the financial burden became overwhelming even for a former NBA champion. The establishment of the Sonics Legends Fund highlights a broader challenge: how even accomplished athletes can struggle with long-term care costs. His former teammate, Wally Walker, captured Williams's essence perfectly after his passing. His energy was always so positive, and his sense of humor was always there. He got along with everybody. It was always fun with Gus, and a lot of laughs. This speaks to the personal impact Williams had beyond basketball. Williams made his last public appearances in Seattle in 2017 at a WNBA All-Star game, and in 2019 when the Mariners honored the Supersonics championship legacy. By then, his health was already declining, but he remained connected to the city where he achieved greatness. The tragedy isn't just that Gus Williams died, it's that he died as one of the most underrated players in NBA history. His speed-driven, score-first point guard style helped pioneer the modern game we see today. Players like Russell Westbrook, Ja Morant, and De'Aaron Fox owe something to the path Williams carved decades earlier. Williams transcended conventional systems and forced the league to adapt to his unique brilliance. His championship with Seattle remains one of the most remarkable individual performances in finals history. Yet his legacy has been diminished by a contract dispute, overshadowed by bigger names, and complicated by a playing style that was ahead of its time. As we remember the Wizard, we should recognize what the basketball world lost. Not just a player, but a pioneer. Gus Williams changed how we think about point guards, about speed as a weapon, about the marriage of athleticism and basketball IQ. His impact on the game deserves to be remembered alongside the greatest players of his generation. The real tragedy is that it took his death for many to remember just how special Gus Williams was. But now it's on all of us to make sure the Wizards' legacy gets the recognition it deserves. He was more than just fast, he was revolutionary. And revolution, even when it's forgotten, changes everything that comes after.